Well, hello, friends, and welcome to a very special Merry Christmas episode of Ask Zach. So, I'm just going to go straight into it. We're going to tell a wonderful Christmas story because it's Christmas, and that's what you do at Christmas time. You tell beautiful stories. So, I'm going to tell a beautiful story about Christmas, Dr. Z, Brad Paisley, and me. I know. It's going to be worth it. All right, so let's go way back. It was December of 2003. I'm working for Brad Paisley as his guitar tech, and we've just finished up a really good year, very successful. And it was the last show of the year in December, and Brad calls me and said, "Hey, come on the bus." I came on the bus, and he said, "I just want to, thank you. You've done such hard work this year, and I have something for you." And immediately I thought, "Oh no, I didn't think about a Christmas present. I didn't know we were giving each other, gifts." I was like, "I'm an idiot." So, and then it gets so much worse. So he goes to the back of the bus, and he brings back something, and he's holding something big, and he pulls it out, and here it is. Oh my goodness. So this is a Brad Paisley painting. Brad Paisley painted this for me as a Christmas present in December of 2003. Of course, you can see it's a Vox AC30 with a Telecaster leaning against it, with a Dr. Pepper can with the tab up, because at the time I was drinking copious amounts of Dr. Pepper. I've since slowed down quite a bit, but anywho, he gave me this, and I was I was elated, but also I was devastated because I hadn't done anything for him. So let me put this down. All right. So at that point, I was like, what can I do for Brad? What would be something special? So I, knew he was such a, John Jorgensen fan, as I am and was. And so I thought, I'll track down, I'd heard of this bootleg of the Desert Rose Band called Roses at Ritz. And so I found it on eBay, got a CD, it was like some burnt copy, and it's like, it's some board recordings of, they're not, they're a couple generations down, but still, it's very cool recordings. They're actually radio broadcasts, from the 80s that, they can be found, even on vinyl, because they were originally on vinyl. So, but I had a CD copy of it, and then I got a copy of the first Desert Rose Band album, and I met up with John Jorgensen, and I had him sign it, to Brad, and then I framed that, and I gave that to him, in January. Again, I was just trying to, like, what can I do that would be special after he's, done a painting for me? And just to back up a bit, I had no idea he was painting. So it was completely out of the blue that all of a sudden he's painted something for me. Okay, so I give him, the album signed by John, and I give him the bootleg recording of the Desert Rose Band. Well, immediately he starts obsessing over this album, and I ended up getting back in touch with John Jorgensen, asking him about the gear that he used, because we were really interested in, in the gear he was using, because the tones were so cool on it. And we had thought that he had always used an AC30 or two AC30s. Most of the time it was two of them, and of course later on there was matchless and things like that. But during the Desert Rose Band, most of the time when you saw him, there was two AC30s, or so we thought. Well, John had actually taken an AC50 with EL34 output tubes, and he had put it inside of an AC30 cab, and on some of the recordings, it was actually an AC30 and an AC50. Well, that got all sorts of things rolling around in Brad's head, And then we started talking to Dr. Z. So he was using the Maserati as kind of his main guitar sound, and then along with it, he would use some other Dr. Z amps like a Carmen Ghia Or2 or a Z28, but it was usually the Maserati plus something else. And part of the issue was we were always trying to get a good in-ear sound that was big and fat, and that's hard when you're playing electric guitar to get a fat sound, using in-ear monitors. So we were always after that kind of big, still sounding, like Brad Paisley, like his sound, but we were, trying to get it a little bigger. So we talked to Dr. Z, both Brad and I, and we started talking about an amp that would have more low end to it and be bigger sounding, and it was supposed to complement the Maserati. Well, Dr. Z, we talked about using EL34s like the AC50 did, talked about some different things, and then Dr. Z said, hey, I've got a really interesting idea. I used to make an amp called the Prescription, and he said, I modified the circuit and I put an EF86 in the preamp, and it sounds big, it sounds huge, has a lot of low end, has a lot of power. I think, y'all ought to try out. So he made a prototype, and he sent it down to us, and immediately it shredded the alnico, the Vox kind of Celestion alnico blue speakers, which are 15 watts each. It shredded them, and so we had to get different speakers, and so we ended up getting 50-watt silver alnico and blue alnico speakers from Weber. And there were some other iterations, of the amp. And then we came down to what ended up hitting the market as the Prescription Extra Strength. And so this is one of the very first ones right here. It was maybe the third or fourth one, and it's a really special amp, and I love it. And I'm not playing through it today because frankly, it's really a stage amp. And in this room and recording the way I do, it really when it sounds right, it kind of overcomes this room and also the mic pre and everything that there's just in my camera phone, my iPhone. So, but these things sound amazing. They sound huge. You can't use the little 15-watt Vox speakers in them. You got to use the bigger speakers, and all sorts of things, ended up happening, from this. Of course, that was the first collaboration between Dr. Z and Brad Paisley concerning an amp. And then, of course, after that came, the Stingray, then Stangray, and other models. But it was a huge step, and it was a really great amp. And I was glad to have a little part of that. And then from that, also, Celestion had been kind of dragging their feet as far as making some higher wattage alnico speakers. And, with Weber selling tons of 50-watt silvers and blues because of Brad, they ended up, they ended up releasing the gold speaker. And then later that same year, and if you want to, get the full story on this, you can watch my interview with John Jorgensen. Brad ended up getting one of John Jorgensen's guitars, his G&L ASAT that he used on Austin City Limits, and Brad still, of course, has that guitar. So, but yeah, a bunch of really cool things happened, and it was all because, Brad, who's a great guy and a great friend, he took the time to make something really special for me. This painting, and I just have to pull it up again. Yeah, he made this, and it was really special, and I was glad to give him something that was special, and then that an amp would come out of that, and speakers, and all sorts of crazy things. So that's kind of our Ask Zach Christmas story. To end, I want to thank everyone that has subscribed. It's really funny. In January of this year, of 2020, I had 70 subscribers. And, I launched the show, And then now we have over 16,000 thanks to y'all. Thank you to everyone that has hit the tip jar, that has bought merch, that has commented on the videos, that has sent me emails. You know, I really hope that we've created a community here, and that we can just have fun together and kind of keep our sanity, because you guys have helped me keep my sanity during a, you know, yeah, it's been a crazy year, but it's also been fun, and it's been fun because of y'all. I also want to thank Jay Smith, he's the designer that created my logo, and he sent me this as a Christmas present, and I want to thank him. I want to thank Dan and Val Strain, Dan O'Caster and Val O'Caster, for the wonderful work they did on my Esquire, and yeah, Ron Ellis, and yeah, I want to, yeah, I'm very grateful. So I hope that y'all are grateful and that you have a wonderful Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bye-bye.